This video contains descriptions of child abuse, violence, and neglect that may be distressing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. February 25, 1957. A university student inspecting rabbit traps in the woods outside Philadelphia discovers a cardboard container. Inside, wrapped in a worn blanket, lie the unclothed remains of a 4-year-old boy. Beaten, starved, hair crudely trimmed. For 65 years, no one recognized him. Welcome to Chalk and Silence, where we uncover the real narratives which slip through the crevices of history. The inquiries which haunt investigators for years of silence. The enigmas which refuse to remain hidden. If you're drawn to the truth behind the headlines, subscribe and join us as we explore the shadows of the past. The woods off Susquehanna Road were a disposal area. Trash scattered between bare trees. The kind of place where people discarded items they didn't want discovered. The young man almost walked past the box entirely. A J.C. Penney bassinet carton, soggy from winter rain. Something caused him to pause. Perhaps curiosity, perhaps instinct. He pulled back the cardboard flaps and found a nightmare. The youngster was tiny. Too tiny. 30 pounds, though he should have weighed 50. His features were a map of bruises, purple and yellow against light-hued skin. Someone had inflicted severe injuries through blunt impact trauma. The harm was methodical, thorough. But the most deeply unsettling was what came after the fatal harm. His light brown hair had been trimmed recently. Crudely. Clumps still clung to his body. His fingernails were groomed. Clean. His skin showed signs of having been washed. Someone had taken care to wash him after the tragedy, tucking him in that flannel blanket like a guardian, wrapping a sleeping boy. The contradiction was haunting. Savage harm followed by tender care. Philadelphia law enforcement launched the largest missing youngster inquiry in the city's history. They took fingerprints, hoping for a quick match. The optimism lasted exactly as long as it took to realize this boy existed in no record, no archive, no official memory. Detective work in 1957 meant shoe leather and determination. They printed 400,000 flyers with the boy's photograph, carefully posed to look like he was sleeping. Gas companies inserted them into utility bills. Grocery stores displayed them in windows. Federal authorities distributed them nationwide. 700,000 people saw that boy's likeness. Not one recognized him. The silence was deafening. In a city of 2 million, with nationwide coverage, no teacher, no neighbor, no family friend stepped forward. The boy had lived and perished in complete isolation. America's unknown child, they called him. A ghost made flesh. Dr. Joseph Spellman's postmortem revealed a narrative written in scars and suffering. The boy's physique bore signs of several medical procedures. An L-shaped incision under his chin. Surgical cuts on his ankle and groin, suggesting hernia repair. A procedure on his elbow. Most telling was a cut-down incision, where physicians had accessed veins for IV fluids or blood transfusion. This wasn't a young person forgotten by the healthcare system. Someone had sought treatment for him, repeatedly. Under ultraviolet light, his left eye glowed bright blue. The fluorescence came from diagnostic dye used to address chronic eye disease. He had been in a physician's office recently, perhaps days before his passing. The contradiction deepened. Severe malnutrition alongside medical care. Chronic mistreatment next to surgical intervention. A boy simultaneously saved and destroyed. The clues around him conveyed their own story. The bassinet carton came from a specific J.C. Penney shop. Only 12 had been sold in the months before his demise. Inquirers traced 11 purchasers. The 12th had provided cash, leaving no record. A man's blue corduroy cap found nearby led to a hat maker who recalled the purchaser. A blond man in his 20s who had returned to have a leather strap sewn on. She said he resembled pictures of the boy, but she had no name, no address, no way to locate him. Every clue dissolved into an impasse. Every lead evaporated into silence. The inquiry consumed detectives for generations. Remington Bristow, a medical examiner's assistant, spent 3 decades pursuing leads. He consulted psychics, followed hunches, knocked on doors until the day he passed away in 1993. The theories multiplied like shadows. A foster home 2 miles from the disposal location became a focal point. Bristow found a bassinet there, blankets that looked similar. But genetic testing eventually ruled out that household. In 2002, a woman calling herself Martha contacted authorities with a horrifying narrative. She claimed her birth parent had bought the boy from his birth parents, mistreated him for years, then ended his life in a fit of rage. The details were specific, chilling. The boy's stomach had contained baked beans, just as Martha described. His fingers were wrinkled from bathwater, matching her account of the final moments. But Martha had a history of mental health issues. Neighbors refuted her account. The narrative crumbled under scrutiny, another false lead in a case built on false hope. Time passed. His resting place in a public burial ground became a site of remembrance for those who couldn't let him remain forgotten. His headstone read, "America's Unknown Child," but the inscription felt more like a question than a declaration. In 1998, inquirers exhumed his remains for genetic testing. The technology wasn't ready. The samples were too degraded. They reinterred him and waited. By 2019, the science had progressed enough. A second exhumation provided better samples. It required 2.5 years for geneticists to extract a viable genetic profile from the degraded remains. The breakthrough came through genetic genealogy. A distant relative had uploaded their genetic data to a public database, creating the first thread in a web that stretched back generations. Inquirers persuaded the relative's mother to submit her data to a genealogy site, revealing she was the boy's close relative. From there, genealogists constructed family trees like historians piecing together a lost civilization. They traced bloodlines, cross-referenced records, followed genetic breadcrumbs through years of silence. In October 2021, they discovered his name, Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Born January 13, 1953. Passed away February 1957, age 4. Son of Augustus Zarelli and Mary Elizabeth Abel. Neither birth parent had ever reported him missing. The identification solved one riddle and generated another. Joseph Augustus Zarelli had a name, a birth date, a family. But the family was complicated. His father, Augustus, may not have known he existed. His birth parent, Betsy Abel Plunkett, was 21 when Joseph was born. She had already given up one infant for adoption. She later married another man and had other children. None of them knew about Joseph. He lived at 61st and Market Streets in West Philadelphia, a neighborhood where neighbors minded their own affairs, where a 4-year-old could vanish without notice. The medical records made sense now. The surgical scars, the eye treatment, the evidence of care alongside neglect. Joseph existed in a gray space between abandonment and attention. Someone was keeping him alive while slowly destroying him. On January 13, 2023, what would have been his 70th birthday, Joseph received a new headstone, his name carved in granite, his photograph embedded in stone. The inquirer who had worked his case for years had passed away just months before the identification. His daughter attended the ceremony, tears mixing with closure. The question remains, who took Joseph Augustus Zarelli's life? The logical explanation centers on family. His birth parents are both dead. His birth parent, Betsy Abel Plunkett, had other offspring she kept. Why not Joseph? Was he the result of a secret relationship? A hidden pregnancy? A boy concealed from a new husband? The psychology runs deeper. Joseph's medical care suggests someone cared enough to seek treatment. The post-mortem grooming, the careful wrapping, the almost tender disposal. These aren't the actions of a stranger. They speak to guilt, to conflicted attachment, to someone who knew this boy intimately. But there's another possibility. The geographical disconnect troubles inquirers. Joseph lived in West Philadelphia. His remains were found in Fox Chase, miles away. Why transport him? Why risk detection? Unless the person intended to sever not just the remains, but the connection to his neighborhood, his family, his life. Authorities say they have suspicions. They won't share details, but they're appealing to elderly onlookers who might recall a household, a family, a secret from 1957. The window is closing. Memory fades. People pass away. The truth retreats deeper with each passing day. Joseph Augustus Zarelli has his identity restored, his dignity, his place in history. But accountability remains elusive. Somewhere in the shadows of Philadelphia's past lies the answer to who ended a 4-year-old boy's life and why no one noticed he had vanished. The case that defined America's unknown child reminds us that some narratives refuse to remain hidden, that science can resurrect the forgotten and give a voice to the silent, that years of silence are nothing when measured against the human need for truth. What do you believe happened to Joseph? Share your thoughts below. And if this story stayed with you, watch our feature on another cold case that finally found answers after years of silence.